It's important to keep in mind that at its core, SketchUp is a modeling tool. It allows you to quickly visualize ideas, and you can do this in a way that is as loose or as precise as you would like. I'm drawing this particular shape not unlike I may sketch out an idea on a napkin with a pen. I don't need to be worried about all kinds of software configuration settings or commands. And as I complete this box, let me talk about what SketchUp is not. Speaking of boxes, out of the box, it's not a photorealistic rendering tool. It's not an animation tool, although it's very clearly animated as I'm drawing this on the fly. It's not designed to be a presentation tool, but I would be perfectly happy to be presenting this as I'm doing right now to anyone who'd be willing to watch. That being said, there's this thing called the extension warehouse that you can access from within SketchUp. You can also go to extensions.sketchup.com. And if you search for things like render, you will find all kinds of tools that add additional rendering capability. If you search for animation, you will find, once again, all sorts of tools that add function to SketchUp. There are hundreds of tools available here, created by developers all around the world. I recommend spending some time at the extension warehouse. Also, it is worth being aware of the export options that come with the Pro version of SketchUp. You can take these creations into all sorts of other formats and further inject SketchUp into your workflow. So when I say SketchUp is primarily a modeling tool, that clearly doesn't mean it's just a modeling tool. And once again, out of the box, it doesn't mean it doesn't have any style. In fact, I will be talking about the style in this video that is built into SketchUp. And to do that, I'm going to delete my hard work and return to a top-down view. To help explain styles, I will once again use the 3D text tool and my favorite demonstration word, Zopsy. This time I'm going to set the font height to be 8 feet and I'll have the extrusion set to 5 feet. I will click place, click in my model. You might want to click zoom extents, and from here I can just use the scroll wheel and middle button to position this about like this. Because I want to paint the individual geometries, I will need to right click and select explode on that text group. Then I can click in white space to deselect everything. Before I put on some materials, let me show you one interesting thing. If you right click on a surface or a face and select reverse faces, this doesn't mean that that is now painted blue. That simply means that is a back face. All geometries in 3D modeling have a front and a back surface. This is SketchUp's way to let you know what is a back face. That being said, you can bring up your material browser by clicking on the paint bucket icon or from the Windows menu option here. And it's really straightforward. You can click on a color and click in your model. You can also apply an opacity to either a color or a texture. So I can see that represented on the side of that surface there. On the Mac interface, if you click on the brick, you can have access to a whole bunch of pre-defined repeating textures. It is also fairly easy to create and add these on your own. Now that I have some color and material in my model, I'll talk about the face styles. If they're on your toolbar, the icons look like this. They're also accessible underneath the View menu option here. And the first two are toggles, meaning they can be on and off, regardless of the other ones that are clicked. X-ray is different than material opacity. X-ray quickly puts a transparency over your entire model. I'll turn that off. The next one is back edges. You can see it shows you the dashed line representing back edges while keeping the material opaqueness. I'll turn that off. The next is wireframe, then it's hidden line, and then shaded. Shaded will take any textures and give you a color approximation. If I click the next one, shaded with textures, that was the default view that we started with a few minutes ago. And finally, monochromatic. Why would you want to turn on monochromatic? It allows you to see your front and back faces easily. That simply disables any visual materials that you have added to your model. I'll return to the shaded with texture. And it's worth noting that these face styles on the toolbar, also accessible from the view menu option, are intended to be a non-permanent quick way to change how your model is displayed. There is a much cooler styles implementation that you can access from the window menu option here. That will bring up this dialog. You may need to click this toggle to open up this secondary pane. If you click on that drop down, I don't have time to go through all of these, but I'm going to click on sketchy edges and click on a couple here. What's really interesting is this is not a static representation. I can still model on this SketchUp interface while having these different styles selected. So it's actually a lot of fun, and I think a little bit more creative than simply modeling with the hard computer generated edges. As I add these, I can see them being added to my in-model display in this top panel. So that is also where you can quickly change and revert to different styles that you have used. Once again, when I started this video, I mentioned that SketchUp is primarily a modeling tool, but at this point you can really see how the lines get blurred between SketchUp being a modeling tool and a presentation tool and an animated expression of an idea. And that's where I think the power is in SketchUp. It's really simple to use, and it really doesn't take much for you to be able to do as easily as I've done everything I've shown in this video.